So I think without further ado, we will just get started. I can see that people are still popping in. We had quite a number of people signed up, so I'm sure more and more folk will pop in just as we continue through the presentation. Can I ask you all, if you are on Twitter, to please feel free to tweet about this session, either using, tweet from about DigiLearnScot at schools_digital, use the hashtag SLF online and hashtag DigiLearnChat. Just to let us know that you're watching and what you thought about the session and if you need further support or information or advice. Okie doke. Just get my presentation sorted. So welcome everyone to the Digital Skills Award for Scotland SLF seminar. My name is Louise Foreman and I'm an Education Officer here at Education Scotland. Today I'm joined by Victor Mcnair, who's a DSAS validator, and Ian Vosser from Braes High School. So Victor, I'll just hand over to yourself just to say a quick hello and a wee background, and then I'll hand over to Ian.
Okay, as Louise said, my name is Victor Mcnair. I'm a validator, but I'm also part of the development team on the Digital Skills Award. We work in Scotland, we work in Europe, in 3 countries in Europe and across Europe, the mainland, and of course in Northern Ireland and Ireland. So, we're very excited. I have to say, we are delighted with the work that we do in Scotland. The schools are incredibly positive, and we just love working with Education Scotland and the schools and the local authorities.
Excellent. And over to yourself, Ian.
Hi everyone, my name's Ian Vosser and I'm the Faculty Head of Technologies at Braes High School. Braes High School is a vibrant secondary school and we're based in Falkirk Council, and I'm just really excited to be along today to share our journey and give you some thoughts and some tips about how we've gone through the Digital Skills Award process. And we've also done that with our cluster primaries as well and have achieved a cluster award, so I'll be able to share a bit of information about that as well.
You're sharing all the excitement there, all the bits where we're going to leave to the end there. So I'm just going to provide a quick overview to begin with of what the Digital Skills Award for Scotland actually is, why we should all be engaging with the framework. Then I'm also going to share some really exciting news about our Digital Wellbeing, Cyber Resilience and Internet Safety Award for Scotland. I'll then pass over to Victor, who, as he said, he will provide an overview of the validation process and the journey from first of all registering with the award to then using the self-evaluation tool and onto the validation visit. And then, as Ian has said, he's going to share some insights, top tips into actually using the award and using the framework, and also the collaboration with his associated primary schools as well, which is a really, really exciting and innovative piece of work that you've all been involved in at Braes High School. So really excited to hear about that. So I just wanted to start with just a very brief overview of the Digital Skills Award and what it means to Scotland. So it's a national award scheme and it was launched across Scotland in 2017 to coincide with our digital learning and teaching strategy for Scotland. To date, we've got 1,630 schools registered for the award. So those schools are all working through that self-evaluation framework, and we have 323 schools currently awarded across Scotland. So the award promotes, recognises and encourages a whole school community approach to the use and application of digital technology for learning and teaching. The most important thing to note about this award is the criteria which provides help to assess progress and recognise excellence in the use of digital technology, but also providing that support and encouragement throughout that process. So schools will evaluate themselves against 5 criteria that Victor will be able to take you through. And it's also really important to note that we also react to the current landscape of Scottish education. So we do update some of the terminology in there. And again, Victor will allude to that in his presentation. Also to note that secondary schools may also apply for a special recognition in computational thinking in the planning and delivery of digital technology across their school. So that's also really important to note if you're a secondary school. And we really would like to see some more schools going for the computational thinking aspect of that award. So why is it so important now more than ever for schools to start that journey and use that self-evaluation framework with the Digital Schools Award for Scotland. So basically, you'll all know that, during the pandemic, the Scottish Government invested 70 million to support digital inclusion among some of our most disadvantaged children and young people across Scotland. So that means that we have a mixture of devices across our schools and across our settings. So how can we be sure that they are being used effectively to leverage great learning and teaching? How are we leading a digital change across our settings? So the digital agenda, as you know, goes far beyond just the adoption of digital technologies. It's about the application of digital thinking, being open to experimentation and understanding the process that leads to improvements in learning and teaching. So where does it currently sit within our school improvement plans? And something really, really important to note about this as well, and really underpins the ethos of the Digital Schools Award for Scotland, is that good pedagogy will never be replaced by digital technology. It is the leverage to support learning and teaching. And also really important when we're thinking about the landscape of Scotland, are our young people prepared for independent, self-regulated learning and the future workplace? How can we ensure that we're supporting our learners to meet the 4 capacities? Digital learning and teaching and assessment. So most of our young people and practitioners have significantly progressed, as you know, their digital skills, ability, but also their agility to be able to select and use digital technology in their learning, life and work. So how can we embed digital learning effectively across our curriculum? And how can we use the digital tools to help us assess progress of learning? And digital wellbeing and safeguarding. How many of you here today speak to your learners and talk to your learners about what they are doing online and what they are using in online environments and the issues or risks this actually presents? So this is what the DSAS framework can do for us. It can support us with that self-evaluation to be able to identify gaps and identify the support that is required for all our settings. But just again, reflecting on that final comment about digital wellbeing and safeguarding. And this is actually really, really exciting because today we're actually able to share with you some really brilliant news that we've actually revised and updated our cyber resilience and internet safety framework for Scotland. Now, this sits side by side our main Digital Schools Award for Scotland. Sorry, I'm forgetting to move my slides on. And so I thought it was also really important to say, what is it? What do we mean by digital wellbeing? And I think these 3 quotes really nicely exemplify what we mean. Simply put, it's the way we can successfully demonstrate the knowledge, skills and understanding to keep our devices and ourselves safe when using technology. Cyber resilience and internet safety is the driving force to foster digital wellbeing. And through the revised, refreshed award, we're really hoping it's going to provide all our educational settings with a framework to support a community-led approach. And again, I can't stress that word community enough. We want to ensure that they can recognise, react and recover within the online world, identify our rights and responsibilities online, and identify when we, our peers, are at risk. And we know what to do if we spot something online and who and where to go to for help. So just finally, just to give you a bit of a whirlwind of what that criteria looks like, we've got 4 main pieces of criteria: leadership and vision, where within that framework, we're looking at that strong school community voice. When we're speaking about learning and teaching, we're looking at the learning and teaching. Does that actually reflect incidents from the data gathered within your community? What is happening in one school may not be exactly the same as what's happening in the school next door or the school in another local authority. It is important that it meets your context and your community. Student digital competencies. So do you have a proactive team of student cyber resilience and internet safety leaders who are supported by staff, school senior managers and partner agencies? And then finally, very, very importantly, professional development and resources. Have staff been given appropriate professional learning relating to the age and stage of their learners? So it's really, really exciting for us in the DigiLearn Scott team. It's really, really exciting for schools out there because you now have this framework and this support for you to work through alongside our DigiLearn Scott site. I'm also going to pop a link into the chat facility, but now I'm going to pass you over to Victor, who will be able to provide that wonderful overview of our framework and the processes involved in the validation.
Okay, thank you very much, Louise. If colleagues will bear with me while I get my presentation up. There we go. Just need to go back to my start slide. I was trying it earlier on, and there we go. We've got, I'm going to outline the Digital Schools Award. Louise has already given you a very good overview, so I'm going to go into the sort of nuts and bolts of the Digital Award programme. First of all, what is the programme? Well, as Louise has said, it's a self-review programme which consists of 5 broad areas that you can see on the slide there. And within each of those areas, there are up to about 35 individual statements, ranging from leadership, teaching and learning, professional development, and culture and infrastructure. Now, in those 35 odd statements, they are examples of excellence in teaching and learning in that particular area. So, for example, let me take you into a sample of 3 of the statements. I've got a statement from the leadership and vision section. I've got a statement from the teaching and learning section, and I've got a statement from the CLPL section. What you'll notice is that in the bold, there's the criterion itself for that particular section, and in leadership and vision, there are about 8 of them. And it says here, digital technology is a fully integrated aspect of school and faculty planning. Now, below that, there are 3 descriptors which would describe, yes, we are really fully integrated, we are partially integrated, perhaps across several faculties, or perhaps across several age groups within the school if it's a primary school, or perhaps it's a question of beginning to think about getting digital technologies into school development planning. You will know, or your school will know, which best fits that description. Now, it's very, very important to say at this stage that we're not asking you to stop what you're doing in school, come outside your normal day-to-day teaching and begin to complete the Digital School Award programme. As Louise has introduced, we very carefully have structured all of our 35 statements carefully to integrate with Curriculum for Excellence, with Higias 4, with Digital Learning and Teaching in Scotland. So when you complete our award, you're actually completing and addressing the policy issues and the reflective issues and the school development issues across the school. So you're not doing something different. That's the first thing I want to say. Second thing I want to say about the statements is that even though they are criteria, they come with both support materials. So you can see in the leadership and vision slide that I've copied there into the image, that there are links to specific sections, in this case for Higias 4, and into the use of digital technology for learning and teaching, and other practitioner support. And we've garnered a whole lot of support materials from a wide variety of areas to give you that support if you need that development. So moving on to teaching and learning. Teachers use digital technology in their daily teaching to provide school-based and blended learning experiences. Now, you're probably saying, I've had enough of blended learning during the pandemic. I'm glad to get into the classroom. Some teachers will say, well, actually, I've really discovered that through blended learning, I could incorporate a very good example of a flipped classroom. So I can get my students to go away and in groups discuss the volcanoes or the rivers or the poem or whatever it is I'm doing in my teaching and learning. They can discuss that online as a homework and come back into my classroom with the discussion ready to expand on the topic. Other teachers might say, well, we'll have that discussion in the classroom. The students can go away and in their groups make a presentation, and that presentation is online and it's got to be peer assessed online. And so on. So teachers are beginning to say, actually, there's a lot in the use of online teaching and learning that we can harness in our everyday teaching when we go back into the classroom. So that's the sort of thing that we do. And incidentally, when we talk about blended learning, the Digital Skills Award provides you with a continuum of teaching strategies and styles that you can choose from when you're thinking about trying to incorporate a blended approach to your teaching and learning. And then a third example that I give you of a statement is the school promotes the development of digital champions to support staff and share good practice with other schools. Now, you may not be sharing good practice with other schools. Ian has talked about the cluster, and there are lots of cooperative schools. But even if that digital champion is supporting staff, we're keen that the digital champion isn't the go-to person if your computer or your printer's not working, or if you can't connect your active board. No, the digital champion is the one who can give you good exemplars of good pedagogy in the use of digital technologies, who can show you techniques and ways to incorporate the digital technologies into your teaching. So that's an example of the sorts of statements and the way schools will approach that, coming through that. So how does it work? Well, once you register your school on our site and you go on to, there's a YouTube link there, which will be available after this presentation. And you can go onto the Digital School Awards site itself. You are given immediate access to the 5 areas you can see on the center image there: leadership and vision, digital learning and teaching, culture, professional development, resources and infrastructure. So the school will probably take some time. Hopefully it will be a collegial effort to get an approach to the way submission is undertaken. And of course, on the site, we give you examples of the sorts of evidence that you might submit against each criterion for the award programme. And of course, the criteria themselves are also roadmaps. They're also indicators of best practice that you might want to aim for. And that's also, and I'll talk a wee bit more about the roadmap in a moment or two. So when you get 70% completed, the submit button becomes live and you're entitled then to ask for a validation visit. Now, I'll talk about validation visits in a moment, but let me say that, as Louise has already said, we have 1,630 schools that registered for the main award and 323 awarded. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Victor, that's not a very big percentage. Well, you might say that. I take completely the opposite view. I say that there are 1,630 schools who have started a digital journey, and I'll come back to that phrase, digital journey, again. 1,600 schools have begun to look at how they can up their game, how they can broaden the appeal of digital technologies, how they can develop their pedagogies, how they can support their professional learning. And our programme gives you 36 different ways in which you can do that. You might be doing a lot of them. You might go onto our programme and say, well, we're doing all of this. We'll apply for the award immediately because we have all the evidence. You might say, well, there are some things here that we would like to do. But if 630 schools are on the journey, that to me is an indicator of success. And that, you know, we're delighted at the schools embarking on that journey. And incidentally, those schools are part of a community. And they begin to talk to each other, they begin to help each other. And of course, when you register for our award and when you hit the submit button, you're allocated a critical friend or validator who can also help and support. It's exactly the same with the CRIS Award. Although the CRIS Award is relatively more recent and we have updated it, as Louise has said, out of 668 registered, only 35, you might say, have been awarded. But again, we say 668 schools are looking at the breadth of cyber resilience. Remember what cyber resilience is. It's preparing for, it's withstanding, it's recovering from, and it's learning from. Those are the 4 elements from the cyber resilience strategy for Scotland. It's getting children to understand and be resilient and learn from incidents of cyber incidents online. So we're delighted that 668 schools are looking at the breadth of how they can support children in internet safety. And if we can avoid one catastrophic incident, then I think you can say we have been successful. So the school has applied for a validation. Most validations now are understandably online. So I'll focus on the online validation. When you have been allocated a critical friend or a validator, we love the term critical friend because the award is all about a conversation. I'll talk about that a wee bit more in a second or two. The critical friend will have gone on to the website. They will have looked at your submission and have made some comments, probably online, and made some responses to your uploading of the examples of evidence. And on that basis, an arrangement will be made to have a video conference with the school. Usually it starts with the school leaders, perhaps the principal, perhaps the digital technologies coordinator, or the digital team if there is one in the school, champions and so on. And that is usually a conversation based around the school's digital journey, where they've come from, what the key challenges and successes have been, and perhaps an overview of the rest of the visit. We would expect during the hour to an hour and a half of that validation online visit, we would expect to be able to talk to a representative sample of teachers from, perhaps if it's a post-primary school, across several faculties, if it's a primary school, across perhaps several year groups. And hopefully we will be able to talk to digital leaders groups as well, and a representative sample of pupils. But don't worry about the visit, because the critical friend or the validator will talk to you and give you some advice as to how to set that up. And because it's online, we'll give you all the different forms of advice about where to host this, and you know, where not to host, you know, busy background noise and so on, because primary, you know, well, schools generally are quite noisy places. Usually at the end, there's a plenary session in which the critical friend will summarize the conversations and the findings, and almost in every case, because you have presented the evidence, almost in every case, it's a question of saying, look, I have no hesitation in presenting you with the digital award, and once that happens, then there comes all the benefits from that. So at the end of that conversation, then we write up a report. And I just want to say about both the report and the conversation. This is an award program. It's not an inspection. So our whole ethos from start to finish is about recognizing good practice, recognizing the journey that the school is on, recognizing and sometimes articulating for teachers who are maybe not aware of how good they are, of articulating the benefits of their teaching, and of course, providing advice and support to continue the journey. So it's all about celebration, it's all about congratulation, it's all about rewarding and validating that good practice. And that's the sort of conversations that we have. It's a collegial conversation, it's a mutual conversation. It's not, well, I'm not sure what way inspections go in Scotland, but I know in Northern Ireland that they're quite often one way. So the report usually has one of two themes. It will be a very congratulatory report outlining the incidents of excellence and showcasing those and providing you words that you can use to celebrate your excellence with your parents, your pupils, your community, and so on. Or, and this is the important thing about the journey, we will outline areas where we think, according to our criteria, that the school could improve on. Now, that school is not prohibited from receiving the award. That school is actually awarded the journey, but with targets. And that's what I keep coming back to. It's about the journey. It's about the effort that teachers are making. It's about the pioneering elements of the school in coming from traditional learning and teaching to a digital 21st century school. So we award that journey. So you can make it an award with some targets. And those targets are agreed, say, for 3-6 months. If it's professional learning, or if it's some other aspects of teaching and learning, or maybe it's some element of school leadership or whatever. But can you see that we don't exclude, we try to include, and we try to make sure that the journey is both robust and practical and reasonable to do. So that's an important aspect of of the ethos of the award. Once you're awarded, of course, you can use our certificate and our logo and so on your school website, your Twitter feed, and so on. So there was also a Digital Learner Award if there are children in the school who are particularly good and showing excellence in digital learning and teaching, and of course the benefits to schools. I'll not go through all of those. I think they're fairly self-explanatory. Now, I think what I'll do, Louise, I'll stop sharing and perhaps let Ian come on and talk about his experience, and then I can maybe come back on and share some other things.
Great, thanks, Victor. So I guess I can tell people a little bit about the process that we went through at Brays High School and how our cluster was involved with that as well to successfully achieve the Digital Schools Award. So certainly for the school, and this is only my second session at Brays High School, but before I arrived, it had already sat within the school improvement plan for the previous 4 sessions, and the digital is in the school improvement plan this year. So there's 5 sessions. It's a real long-standing commitment to driving digital pedagogy, and that focus very much has been about how will it improve the learning and teaching? How does it support what's going on in the classroom? So it was really lovely when I joined the school community to see how embedded digital activities already were. And within a few weeks of starting, I'd sat down with colleagues from each of the 10 faculty areas that we had and had conversations about what are you doing digital learning wise, what would you like to do more of. It's something that I'm really interested in. I'm really keen to work across our school community to support more of that happening. And I also had a conversation with the deputy head teacher who was responsible for digital, and she was saying how they would really like to celebrate the success of the Digital Schools Award. Had already registered for the award, had started the self-evaluation, that reflection process, but they weren't really sure about what evidence needed to be got together or how that was best to happen. So there's a couple of people who led the digital working group, along with myself and the DHT. We sat down and we just went through the self-evaluation statements over a couple of sessions. And I said a really nice place to start is to get yourself registered on the Digital Schools Award website, and then start working your way through the criteria. And just read the statement and just plump for where you are in your journey, and it will add up as you go along. And as Victor says, when you get above 70%, then you can apply for a validation visit. But by going through that process in its entirety, we were fortunate enough to see that we were over that 70% and could apply for a validation visit. But we felt there were some things we wanted to tighten up and some evidence that we wanted to gather and get together first. So while in the October we had that feeling that we were ready and able to achieve the Digital Schools Award, there was some bits that we wanted to strengthen in terms of the work of our digital leaders. I was like, how can we celebrate that a bit more? And some of the links that we had with other schools across our community, I was like, we can work to make sure that we've got a really clear story to be able to tell. So in terms of looking across those 5 areas, and when I think about leadership and vision, as I said, the leadership of digital technology has certainly been in the school improvement plan. But our school vision and our school motto is about building respect, earning success, and being part of it. And within the lessons in PSHE, within the computing lessons, and within the activities that teachers were doing when they were digital, they were very much about taking that school vision of being respectful when you're working on Teams or using another online platform. Very focused on making sure that the work that was being doing was helping people to earn success and be included and be part of it. So the life of our school was being translated to that virtual world too. And I think what obviously really accelerated that was during the pandemic. Everyone was forced to undertake their school activities online, and the school activities weren't just the timetabled lessons. So in the first lockdown, our school was offering some virtual lessons with some asynchronous learning packages, and in that second lockdown, which was only earlier this year, but it feels like such a long time ago now. It's amazing. It's amazing how much time has happened. We were just following our timetable as normal, and young people were expected to attend their 6-7 periods a day, but we could see lunch clubs and after school clubs also happening, albeit slightly differently because people were meeting online. And I think, you know, that all demonstrates that vision of having a school community operating. One of the other criteria is about school culture, and you could absolutely see how the school culture is reflected in the activities online as well as in person. A couple of other areas where the self-evaluation looks at is the learning and teaching that's going on. I would say that's a really important one to focus on. I'll talk in a minute about the validation visit, but in terms of across our faculty areas, we have a few people who I would say are operating with, you know, absolutely excellent digital work. Every lesson they've got, you know, the green screen going, or they've got online activities and, you know, questionnaires and games and quizzes and online work. But there's other colleagues who, you know, 3-4 years ago would have had no digital technology happening in their classroom, and now they've got a team, and after the lesson they're taking a photo of what they've written up on their whiteboard and they're putting that on the team, so children who maybe weren't there or want to access it later can. And it's, you know, it's not about everyone being excellent at everything, it's about people making progress, so they're always getting better and they're always adding something additional to what they're doing. And I think, you know, one of the other themes that we talk about is professional development, and I think the school has a really strong career-long professional learning program where every week there is an input, something to do, you know, with pedagogy, but within that you have the digital pedagogy theme. So during lockdown in January there, blended learning for that term, and what people were doing in terms of assessment or feedback, that fed into the professional learning program. But before that, you know, we were doing sessions on introducing teams or looking at how people use forms to create quizzes or gather data. So, you know, that is something that has been part of the school, and it's something that's been strengthened with our professional inquiry groups, which are happening across the cluster. So this session we've got a virtual professional inquiry group, and across the 6 primary schools that we work with, their colleagues can access a digital learning or a digital play pedagogy sessions where we can all share ideas and get that communication going. Of course, the final core area is resources and infrastructure. Now, we weren't a one-to-one school when we started the Digital Schools Award. We had a rollout of some devices to the young people through the Connecting Scotland programme to get them devices for when they were working at home. But we're now moving and have just completed the rollout of one-to-one devices. As of today, I think we gave out our last device. So you know, we got the Digital Schools Award before we were one-to-one, so don't feel you need to be a one-to-one school. It's about trying to make the best use of the technology that you have in the best places, with a view to future investment. And the final area which we also applied for validation on with that main visit was computational thinking. So across our science, technology, engineering and maths departments, everyone has kind of come together to decide on how we deliver decomposition and what kind of problem solving that we have available in terms of the activities, both core curriculum and extracurricular. So by planning that together, by just getting the teachers together and talk about strategies that are working, that's allowed us to be successful there. So, you know, I said we went through the criteria and benchmarked ourselves and thought there was a few areas we wanted to tighten up on before we got the validation in. So we were assigned Catherine Cunningham as our validator. And before we started a formal validation visit, we'd had a couple of informal meetings with Catherine just to kind of talk through the evidence that we put up. So we uploaded you know, simple things like user agreements. They were easy to find, but for gathering learner work, that takes a bit of time when you're putting that out to your colleagues, and you say, oh, if anyone's got any great work, and then people suddenly feel a bit shy, and so you have to go around and tap a few doors and encourage people to say, no, the work you're doing is interesting, it is good, let's share that story. So you know, there's a bit of legwork that needs to be done to be able to gather the evidence, but you don't need evidence for everything. You just need a good proportional spread to demonstrate what you're doing.
Brilliant.
And And across our validation visit morning, we're a staff of just under 100 people, and 30 colleagues popped in at one stage or another, or did a session with Catherine just to share what they were doing. We had about 30 young people as well, and that was probably slightly more than Catherine maybe needed to see. But when I put out for volunteers to come and talk to the validator, we had lots of people saying yes, I'd like to share what we're doing. So I was keen that everyone who volunteered had the opportunity to do that. And the process was very much the same with the Cyber Resilience and Internet Safety Award, but the focus there, we were more learner-led in terms of sharing that journey with Catherine, because they're the ones who can explain what they're doing in their terms. In terms of, in the broad general education, we're quite focused on staying safe online, quite focused on understanding what you can do and who you can contact to get help if you're seeing things or accessing things online that maybe you shouldn't. And then we left our senior pupils to talk about the more technical side of things. So we offer a cybersecurity course, for example. We've got a few other types of activities like that, some ethical hacking, and we let them talk about the more technical side of things. So yeah, that was our kind of validation and process, and it was supportive all the way along, and we're fortunate enough to be continuing with the Digital Schools Award for Europe. And they've got a self-evaluation process, so we're enjoying engaging that and using that to benchmark our progress. So I feel we've done lots, and I still feel we have so much more that we can do. And I guess it's one of those things, Victor used the word journey. It absolutely is a journey, but I think, a journey without necessarily a fixed destination, just plenty of stops along the way. So maybe an adventure.
Oh, Ian, thanks so much for that. That was just a really, really enthusiastic overview of, the journey that you guys have been on in Braze, and the journey that continues. And I think that's a really important message as well. Even though you've just, you've achieved your cluster award, that journey doesn't stop just because you've got the award. There's so much more still to do. And Victor, I don't know if you wanted to go back and say anything else. We've got quite a few questions coming in. Okay. Miss Black has asked if there's, a document that she could look at to view the 35 statements before signing up. Miss Black, absolutely, just sign up and have a look at it. It's not, you're not, they won't be in touch with you to find out why you haven't achieved your award yet. So sign up and just check it out. Hi. Oh, hi, Miss Black.
Hello. I was actually asking more from a support point of view, not so much. Our school actually already has the award. But in my new role, I was hoping to support other schools going through that. So it was more just for me to kind of get to grips with what those statements are, so that if other schools have questions, then I can help them with it. That was really all I was looking for. But I'm sure I'll be able to find something online that has that.
Well, Miss Black, we've also got Aoife here today, this afternoon, and she kindly, and I don't know if this is a possibility to maybe I'll maybe speak to her and I'll contact you. I've got your email address and we can maybe help you out with that. But we've also got Andrew McLaughlin here as well, who's saying that he's created a forum using the Digital Schools Award framework as well. So again, that's maybe someone you want to hook up with.
Perfect. I'll see if I can. Thank you.
Good. Louise, can I just mention a couple of things?
Go for it.
Very, very quickly. Two big issues. One, Paula Brady, I think, was asking, do you have to have lots and lots of devices? And the answer is absolutely no. I've been in small primary schools way in the hinterland of Northern Ireland, right on the border, where they have very limited resources. But boy, they were packing a punch when it came to deploying those resources to support digital learning and teaching. And it was really strong pedagogy, really good independent learning, collaborative learning, children going out and exploring and coming back and reflecting using videos and developing their skills using the videos that they had created and evaluating each other. So really it's about the pedagogy, not about the number of devices. Where we see strong pedagogy, we reward that. I think the second thing is Ian mentioned confidence. And part of the delightful role of a validator is to validate and, if you like, ratify good practice. Quite often teachers will think what they're doing, well, maybe I'm only doing this or I'm only doing that, it's not very good. But for us, it's about instilling confidence. We hope that the way the award structure is set out and the way the statements are set out, that it does provide teachers with the view, oh yeah, well actually I am doing this, or I am doing that, or yes, I can do that. That's easily that can be done. So it's about building confidence as well, and the conversations with the validators are all about helping to establish that confidence with teachers.
I'm really looking forward to the kind of future for us. So just before we came on air, I was telling Louise how at the moment we've got split lunches with our seniors and juniors coming at different times. So while we've got kind of two groups of digital leaders who, when we were working in lockdown earlier in the year, we had our lunchtimes realigned, so they got to meet virtually. But since being back, those two sets of groups have been separate again. But I also think there's an opportunity for us in terms of working across our cluster primary schools. I know all of those have great digital leaders. It will be lovely to be able to get our digital leaders with their digital leaders, hopefully in the school building when we can start mixing schools together. It was lovely when the P7s came up for their transition, albeit in small groups. I got to meet them all then, and it's the same with code clubs as well. I think while it is fantastic, like Scottish Learning Festival is online this year, which means you can maybe access things that you couldn't do normally. I think there's still a place to be able to get together in person. So let's look forward to embracing that in the future.
Well, thank you so much, both Victor and to yourself, Ian. That was a really, really good insight into, the Digital Schools Award for Scotland. I really hope that the people who are listening here this afternoon will be interested in starting their journey, or, continuing that journey if you've already registered. And also look out for some big messages coming out about the Digital Wellbeing CRIS Award as well. So we will be officially launching that very, very, very soon, but really, really exciting to be able to share that with you here today. Lots of love coming through for the presenter. So again, thank you so much. We've literally got 3 minutes left. So if you've got any questions, feel free to pop your hand up, put your mic off, switch your camera on. Feel free to ask a question if you need to or want to.
And yeah, if you haven't registered, do get on the site and register. I think that is the first step, isn't it? If you get that done, that's maybe the first hurdle. Get over that, and then you can get going.
And on the website there, you will have access to all the resources and all the links and documents that will help you develop the submission.
Brilliant. Okie doke. It was lovely to see so many DSAS folk in the background as well. Right, I think we should just start heading off. So again, thanks very much. People are starting to log off anyway. So yeah, Ian, thanks very much. I hope you've not got another session on this evening.
No, that's session's done for the week, which is fabulous. Tomorrow got a STEM challenge. We're building Lego cars.
Oh, and, brilliant fun!
Putting hydrogen canisters in them to see how far they go. Whoever goes furthest wins. Not sure we're going to win yet, but that's. Oh,
good luck! So. Good luck. That sounds really, really exciting. Lots of stuff going on then at Braes High School.
Certainly a busy.